Okay. All right, we will have our second quiz over the weekend, so I'll put that up. I'll put it up probably Saturday. So tomorrow, Friday, I'll put up these slides and bullet point kind of the things that will be on the quiz. Right? Kind of same format that we had by the first quiz. So I'll give you some time. You have enough time to complete it. It'll stay open, say, until Monday at midnight. So we have kind of right before you come to class to get it completed. Anyone here has any kind of thing to share with us? Yes, we have somebody to share. Would you like to bring your laptop here and connect it, or email it to me? How would you like to do it? You emailed it to me already. Okay. Anyone else? Any observations about particular age groups or challenges? Yeah, I would say maybe start with your own age groups. If you're like, hey, I would like to discuss social-emotional things that I've observed with my age group. What college? Challenges that they're going through, emotional, physical development, cognitive things that people are being challenged with. So even if you want to draft up something during class, just a little other function, feel free to do so. If you have something to share or just something you want to talk about. Maybe wait a couple minutes. So I'll see the functions. All right. So we talked about socio-emotional development in children. We discussed Erickson's theories that we kind of subscribe through in terms of trust and mistrust, building autonomy as an independent toddler or infant, as opposed to being dependent on others all the time, how that all kind of takes shape. Trusting caregivers, right? Mom, dad, whoever's in the house has a responsibility to kind of reinforce certain things in a healthy way. There is going to be a lack of trust. We say autonomy. Those who do not have autonomy often feel guilt or shame, which means they have self-doubt, and they carry that on into pretty much to the next stage. Right? So they'll be operating as a deficit in terms of believing that they can achieve things, having confidence in themselves, right? Which is very important. We say, hey, there are things like facial expressions in babies, right? It's good to show different facial expressions in babies so that babies can also learn the different expressions. Talked about social smiles, negative emotions. Negative emotions appear to have more kind of demonstrate more power and magnitude as opposed to non-negative emotions. Self-soothing, sucking, all these different mechanisms. Right, but today we will talk about temperament and attachment for the most part. All right, stranger wariness. It's important, right? Because we're talking about survival. It's important that baby does be weary about strangers. We think that that's a healthy thing. That they may cry if it's not a familiar face, right? Some people may not like that. Uncles, aunts, maybe even other family members who don't come around a lot, right? They're like, well, what's the likelihood that baby will display stranger wariness, right? The fear of unfamiliar people. Some infants show rapid increases and others are slower when it comes to stranger wariness. Children in North America are expected to have stranger wariness, right? So remember we say we're an individualistic culture. We're not so collective, so we actually are reinforced not to trust strangers. We don't see most strangers as being part of our community, our group. We see strangers as individual threats. Other cultures, not so much. They're collectivistic, like there's more of a level of trust towards strangers. Typical here in the U.S., you think we have such a diverse population of people. Everybody looks alike, different belief systems, different ethnicities. Kind of challenging. You come from a place where it's homogenous, people look alike, it might be a little bit more easy, right? So we say stranger wariness is different in other cultures. Emotionality and temperament style tendencies towards social interaction and past experience with strangers all influence stranger wariness. This is all to say that, hey, if parents reinforce, like, don't talk to strangers, you get hurt, you get kidnapped, these sorts of things, children will tend to kind of carry that on to their next stages as well, too, right? But if you're left to be a little bit more open, maybe you do live in a community that's friendly and neighbors that interact all the time, that can give someone kind of reinforcing behavior to kind of be open to new individuals all the time. Trustworthiness. Some people think that's a good thing or a bad thing. Some people are like, well, does that increase you being naive and gullible, right? Being the potential victim? Or does the opposite? Does it reinforce that you don't bring in new relationships into your life for some reason? Right? That you tend to isolate. with temperament, right? What is temperament? The characteristic way in which an individual approaches and reacts to people and situations. One of the basic building blocks of emotion and personality. Right, so think of here, we kind of relate temperament to attitude or disposition that people have. It's like, what is your approach when you come into a new classroom? Are you standoffish? Are you open to talk to people, talk to the professor, or do you like remain silent? How's your temperament when you go to a party? Do you kind of hide yourself? Do you try to make friends with people you don't know? Do people think of you as kind of aggressive or standoffish? Right? Those are the type of things we focus on in terms of characteristics for temperament. Right? It involves personality to some degree. Some styles, some things we look at. Hey, what is your activity level? How is it expressed, your temperament? Approach, withdrawal, adaptability. Are you able to approach and withdraw in a healthy way? Or do you approach and can't withdraw that easily? Let's say you're having a conversation with someone and they talk a lot. Do you know how to adapt the conversation to leave this talker? Do you interject? Or are you a person who just lets that person talk all day and you know, I gotta go somewhere, right? Those could be reinforced in early childhood. The intensity of your reactions, threshold of responsiveness, right? So some people are easily triggered and have attitudes in some way, right? Quality of your mood, distractibility, and attention span, right? We say all of that kind of relates to temperament. So easy temperament, right? So we say 3 profiles. We'll say easy, difficult temperament, and slow to warm up. Easy babies are often in a positive mood, even-tempered, open, adaptable, regular, and predictable in biological function. Right? They're like, okay, this seems pretty good. That's normal. Baby is not gonna cry too quick. Baby kind of processes information when someone's new, kind of feels them out, looks at their face, curious about them. Right? You go, well, that seems kind of healthy, right? They're easy to adapt. Difficult babies are active, irritable, and irregular in biological rhythms. So you say you have a baby that just immediately screams and cries with every new phase, right? It doesn't stop until that person leaves the environment. And then slow to warm up babies tend to be inactive, moody, and slow to adapt to new situations. So they're kind of somewhere in between. And then we got Rothbard. This is Mary Rothbard, who was focused on dimensions of extroversion, insurgency, or negative affectivity, and effort for control. Being able to manage emotions and impulses associated with positive long-term adjustment. So infant temperament is less stable than childhood temperament and is more open to environmental influences. All right, so her dimensions kind of focus on emotional control, the ability to not react, even though you may feel the need to react. Then we got goodness of fit, right? Goodness of fit is basically, hey, does your temperament match the environment, right? Or are you completely off base? Are you always the same person in every environment that you go to? Are you a different person and you kind of adapt depending on the environment that you go to? You kind of switch it up, right? You kind of create different profiles of temperament about yourself. Like, hey, if it's an energetic environment, maybe I'm picked up. And if it's a slow environment, I know how to slow down, right? And do as the Romans do, right? Watching everybody to see how people are behaving, you kind of adjust to that. think not everyone has that. So some children, they're just always loud. They don't care, right? We talk about people who have outbursts. They're like, what about the other 30 students in the classroom? Like, I don't care. I can't control myself. Outbursts regardless. Like, wow, there's no conscientiousness about other people and how they're behaving. Like, no, I can't control my impulse. Even though, so I don't have the goodness of faith. We say, hey, you know what? It's influenced by caregiver bond, or mother's temperament primarily. If a fussy infant is raised by someone who is patient and sensitive, the infant may become more flexible over time. All right, so you're like, hey, you know what? The baby will tend to mimic mom's behavior, strongly mom's behavior, but can mimic other caregivers' behavior. Mom's behavior is kind of a strong reinforcement. So even if baby is a fussy baby, and mom is patient, is peaceful, lullabies and relaxed, baby can pick up those characteristics. But if mom is amped up too, no. Right, we say things will kind of be the same for baby. So baby is influenced by the bond with caregivers. Anyone know any people who have poor temperaments with babies? All right, cultural differences. We say, once again, there's always different cultural perceptions in children, right? Consistent cultural differences in temperament are rooted in cultural norms and how individuals are perceived. For example, while Japanese mothers may discourage strong emotions, North American mothers are active and stimulating, right? So Japanese parents, we say culturally, is about more stoicism, being quiet, not talking too much, be person of small words, short words, right? And not expressing too much about how you feel, right? Maybe being more of an observer than an expressor. We're like here in America, you're like, no, we love expression, right? Expression, we want a lot of communication. A lot of expressions, arm movements, hands movements, right? Eye movement, all these different things. So we say Asian cultures often prioritize low arousal and emotionality. On the flip side, some of the data suggests that, hey, for Japanese babies, comes to find out that they tend to be more psychologically distressed than North American babies, even though we taught North American babies to be expressive. Why would that be? The Japanese babies are raised to be calm, not express a lot of emotions. Or are they stressed out more so than North American babies? Yes.
Like one thing that I believe in is like the mind and the body are really connected, and like when you suppress your emotions inside, like it'll build up over time and it'll impact you like physically and mentally.
Yeah, absolutely. You're like, hey, you know what? If you're stressed, you're gonna feel it. Muscles tighten, sweats, headaches, gonna manifest physiologically. Yes.
The community too, because I heard that Japan has high suicide rates for young children. So it's like their community is insanely stressed to the point where maybe it like projects onto the babies as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, remember we said, we call it mental energy, and we want to emphasize the energy. Like energy cannot be destroyed, it has to be transferred in some way, shape, or form. So it's not transferred through expressions of emotions, getting it out, and it stays in. And it stays in for long enough, weird things happen with our brain and our bodies, right? So you say, think about it, if culture is one of the strongest forces, like culture kind of really didn't force you to try to behave a certain way, right? You belong to culture, people like, no, this is how we do it, you're going against us, you're making us look weak, you're putting us to shame, right? That's a lot of pressure. So if these babies or children or what have you are keeping it in, obviously it's going to increase the likelihood for depression and ultimately increase the likelihood for things like suicidality. All right, attachment. I'm pretty sure some of you are familiar with attachment style. Who can tell me some of their attachment styles or attachment issues altogether? Yes.
Or like I know about anxious attachment, where for me personally it could be like I get into an argument with someone and I want to talk about it right there and then, but they are an avoidant attachment to where they need space and time to think about what happened. So like I'll be freaking out and that person will be freaking out without talking to me. Like, yeah.
So you're like, hey, you know what? I want to resolve this now, right? Someone else is like, they're passive, and they're kind of avoiding, right? They're avoiding it, and you're like, no, I want to resolve things now. And if I don't, I'm gonna have anxiety. I'm gonna ruminate these thoughts over and over again, emotions, you get me stressed out all over it. You're over there just chilling, right? Right, those create a lot of issues with any kind of relationship, whether it be family, romantic, interpersonal, professional relationships, all sorts of things. Yes.
My pets, they have a giant attachment to everyone in their family, and it gets to the point where nobody can leave the house without one of them making too much noise in the house, so one person always has to stay in the house.
At all times. Have you thought of a strategy to like help circumvent that?
We've tried to, but it's just like it's slowly just like it's been slowly working out, especially since everybody went back to school. So,
Yeah.
but they still get really bad sometimes.
Yeah, my dog's the same way. So like my dog will whine for minutes after I leave the house. Like wants to follow me in the morning when I leave. So what I have to do is feed it right before I leave. So I can distract it, right? Like here's all some food here, go over there, and then I'll sneak out. So hopefully by the time he finishes, he maybe forget what I left or looking for him. It doesn't cry so much. All right, attachment, extremely important. Anyone else have any issues with attachment? In any way, shape, or form, right? No, think about this. We bond with people in different ways, right? Like, okay, this involves bonding, mating with people, right? Some people trauma bond, right? Like, why are you still together? Why is it so toxic? Right? Right? Mom and dad, or mom or caregiver, something happened. Why are you still in an abusive relationship? Right? Well, I kind of think of the abuse as an expression of love. That's weird. Right? It's love. This person loves me. That's why they hurt me. Right? Well, in some way, like this is reality. They're like, hey, they're speaking my language. Right? Some people are like, that's not my language. I don't want to be involved in any of that. Right? And then on the flip side, some people are like, hey, I don't bond. Some people are like trying to gravitate towards you in any way to create strong friendships, strong relationships, strong whatever. And then the person standoffish. They're like, nope, no attachment. Like, really? Right? No matter what. And so we have to kind of go back and look at Erickson again. We're like, all right, does it involve anything with that mistrust? Is it just that we don't want to get close to people because inevitably we just don't trust people? People are bad. They don't let us down each and every time, right? So yes, attachment gets really deep. So we say attachment by definition, it refers to a lasting emotional tie between two people who each strive to maintain closeness to the other and act to ensure that the relationship continues, which happens to be probably a major issue now in romantic attachments now. Nobody's trying to work at anything, right? Swipe left, swipe right, swipe right. In real life, people are like, all right, ghost you, don't call me. Like, interesting. Some people's attachment styles have exacerbated in very negative ways over time. Maybe due to the internet, maybe the internet or apps and things like that create too many interactions with people and too many disappointments that we're eventually desensitized. It's like nothing matters anymore, right? We're desensitized, and now we like, no matter what, we can't bond. We ran out of the reserves of bonding for some reason. Emotional and social development are strongly influenced by our attachment relationships. Our earliest attachments are the most important with our primary caregivers. All right, so we have another theory, Bowlby's ethological theory of attachment, right? Looking at the ethos, like the purpose, the cause of attachment issues, right? So family experiences influence emotional disturbances through inborn tendencies to form close relationships. So it's characterized as an adaptive behavior that evolved because it contributed to the survival of the human species. So in some way, Bowlby is theorizing that attachment deals with our survival, and maybe in our minds we survive by not attaching to some people, right? Having a level of kind of mistrust so that we can continue on and grow in our best way. And some people disagree. People are like, hey, my survival depends on my relationships. I'm unhappy if I don't have good relationships with my friends, family, co-workers, right? It's actually part of my survival as a person. If not, I'd be depressed, lonely, isolated, such and such, right? Which usually comes from our infant life. All right, so some signals that babies can get from adults, right? Or signals that babies give off that adults respond to, which can help kind of form better attachments. Smiling back, cooing, right? So cooing, babies are talking about ba ba da da, right? Kind of repeating that with them, making an attachment, a bond with them. We're doing that. Clinging, holding babies tight into us. And helping babies who are crying form bonds, stronger bonds. So these also motivate adults to relieve infants' distress. All right, so we got some phases of attachment. One, pre-attachment. And then early attachments, later attachments, reciprocal relationships. We'll talk about those in a minute. And then we have secure-based separation anxiety and internal working model. So secure-based foundation is the formation of an attachment bond allows for infants to begin exploring the world and having secure base to return when frightened. So what this kind of exhibits that does our caregivers allow baby to roam around a room, right, freely to gain some sense of independence and trust. Baby may look back at us as it's exploring curiosity, and then baby gets frightened and shaken by something. Do we come to secure the baby? Right? Because he got frightened. Oh, I'll pick her up. Right? Or do we let baby just keep going? Right? Or we have no response. We don't say, hey, this would be okay. We don't reply back. Going to create some sort of different secure base. Baby will feel either insecure or secure. Separation anxiety, a reaction to separations from an attachment figure that is characterized by distress and crying. Separation anxiety increases between 8 and 15 months of age and then declines, right? So separation anxiety, we just heard about pets, right? A lot of pets suffer from separation anxiety. Want to be with the owner at all time, owner leaves, goes somewhere, dog goes crazy, cries for 10, 15 minutes. Now, fortunately, they don't really change that often with dogs, right? It may change as they get more older, but for children, it can change pretty quick, right? So we say usually from 8 to 15 months, it's pretty high that they'll have that. They'll cry when we leave, and after that, usually it should decline. If it's not declined, then we say something is wrong. We got a super clingy baby. What am I doing wrong to have such a clingy baby? This is not good, because I'm not gonna always be around for baby as it ages and have to go do things on its own. And then we have internal working model, right? And like this all relates to how baby internalizes these attachments. So we say this is the expectation about whether a baby feels worth of love. Like, oh, interesting. This is like self-esteem, self-worth. So you're like, hey, you know what? Since I was crying and no one came to comfort me, nobody cared, I feel I'm not worthy of love. They didn't care to show me love. So as I move on to next stages and I begin to age,